This has been a wild year for the Bengals because Joe Burrow has been lights out. Jamar Chase, another LSU guy, has been lights out. The defense, the lights are on. The lights are on at all times. It is the Red Roof Inn. They are. Anyway, you want to come stop by, anybody can do this. My question for you, though, about this organization is larger because the Bengals are interesting, right? There's been the best of times, there's been the worst of times, and most notably, they've been really cheap over the history of that franchise. Since Burrow has gotten there, and I think Chase also, because it's hard to separate those two, because Burrow had that first year and got hurt, then Chase came and everything was different. But we think of that franchise as completely different than we had before. Are those two guys that impactful on the entire franchise, or is it just a matter of sometimes guys are just really good players, and that's the part that matters?
Yeah, I think there's been a real intent by Zach Taylor to change really that narrative, and I think that he's done a great job of that. I think that when you look at Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, I think it's hard to say that it's not. And I'll say this, not to take anything away from Jamar, because I think he's continuing to show that he may be one of the best players in the NFL, period, regardless of position. But Joe Burrow is a rare dude. I had a chance his rookie year when he got hurt. It was actually in 2020 is when I got hurt as well. I blew out my PCL and MCL, missed 8 weeks and came back for the playoffs with the Rams. But during the time I was hurt, Dr. Neil Elitrosh, a good friend of mine, had done Joe's surgery and linked Joe and I, even though he played at LSU, and I'd kind of sent him some messages over time we'd never met. So I had Joe over to the house a couple times to watch NFL Sundays. We got our legs up, rehabbing, just both of us stove up basically on the IR list. And so, we're hanging out together watching games, and Doc would come over and kind of check on us and stuff. But getting to spend time with him and realizing this guy's mentality, he is a rare human. And I always kind of said from that moment, and I've said this to anybody who listened to me, not talking about Tom Brady's success, because I hate when we get in those conversations, but when you hear like, oh man, Tom, his attitude and his demeanor and how he carried himself and the way he was able to push people and elevate people around him was so rare, and it sticks out when people are like, what are the reasons that he's a GOAT? When you're around Joe Burrow, it is very easy to see quickly in a conversation when you get a little intimate time with him, man, this dude has an ability to like raise the level of intensity in a room. And like it's real. And talking to Zach Taylor and team meetings and different things, which I think is neat, getting to see him on this in-season version, really insider viewership of like getting to see their team meetings and their dynamics. Like you see how serious he is in a team meeting. I think it's cool to see that because Joe Burrow is that guy. Like he just somebody who like the intensity level is rare, and being around elite head coaches, Sean McVay, Nick Saban, some of the guys I've gotten to be around that I put in that category, he's just like that. Like every single day is just as intense, no matter what's going on in his life, no matter what's going on around him. He is locked in and he is chasing greatness in every moment. And it's not how he feels, it's where he's planning to go that drives who he is. And so I think it's cool seeing like some of the impact he's had. Now, those limitations you talked about are still there. The organization is not one that has been aggressive when it comes to spending money, that's been aggressive when it's come to trading for people or making moves. Like I always think of 2011 to 15, how good we were. I mean, to win multiple division championships, to really go to the playoffs, 5 years in a row, and we never made a move. Like we never like said, all right, let's go trade for one more guy, or let's go pay this guy in free agency that just takes us over that hump to go win a playoff game and go chase a championship as good as we were. They kind of feel like they're in that situation right now. It kind of feels like they got to make an aggressive move, and I just don't know if that's in their being to make that aggressive move to change things. My aggressive move was 2 years ago. They should have traded T. Higgins after they lost in Kansas City in the AFC Championship, because I feel like that's how they build, is through the draft, through picks. They had to take an opportunity to say, pick one of the receivers, trade one of them, and let's go build this team around Joe Burrow, not necessarily with just weapons.
Okay, I saw Joe Burrow play one game early in 2019. I actually talked to Ryan about it. I was like, if they beat Alabama, that's the Heisman Trophy winner and the number one pick in the draft. And it was a play with him just moving around in the pocket. I was like, oh, yeah, I know how this ends.
Yeah, dude, he's crazy. I mean, some of the stories he would share of just the intensity and just how he plays football, it's unbelievable. Really, to him, it's like this killer instinct. Because I think Ryan Fitzpatrick and I've talked about it. He's almost scary. Like sometimes when you're around him, you're like, man, this dude is different. Like he kind of scares you to say hello to because it's like sometimes he's so intense, it's gonna be an awkward hello. Like because he's not gonna like play the whole "what's up, man" game. He is locked in. So you got to be careful of the moments that you want to go engage. And, he is intense that way. So I think, man, he's a rare dude who elevates the people around him. And I think they're going to continue to be successful, but they've got to fix the defense. They've got to fix, to me, what are the ways that you really say, hey, and that's why I'm against having both receivers. It's about building the rest of the team to just be, hey, middle of the road. You could be 15 or above on defense. Like, that's perfect. That's all you need. This guy will handle the rest. For them, when they've been that, they went to a Super Bowl, and I played against them. But when they haven't, when they've been bottom of the league on defense, they're exactly what they are. They're going to score a ton of points, and they're going to lose football games. But they got to find a way to build around him because I think you can give him Jamar and anybody else, and he's going to be successful.
Yeah, no, Chase is unreal. Like, that's one where I feel like we're in a period now where we don't talk about it as much, but there are a lot of really, really good wide receivers out here. And I mean, LSU, apparently you guys are doing this, right? Jefferson's probably the best receiver in the league, and Chase is probably number 2. Like, we're going to look at that offense and say that there were probably at least 3 Hall of Famers on that offense in 2019.
Yeah, it's crazy. You think of what Jamar is, and it's not just catching passes and running routes. Like you watch him when he gets the ball in his hand, it's like people are paralyzed to tackle him. Like and what I think is interesting is sometimes when you watch those kind of guys, you're like, I don't even know that he looks that fast or he looks whatever. It just looks like no one else is moving when he has the football in his hand. And even the play he had recently against the Cowboys to win the game at the end, it's like it looks like they just have no chance to touch him or tackle him. It's wild his ability when he gets the football in his hands to make plays and almost be like a elite running back once he has the football in his hands, much less his ability to make catches and run routes and do everything else. And also it's impressive. You think from a mental capacity, like he goes everywhere. They put him all over the field. Sometimes he's in the backfield. Sometimes he's in the slot. Sometimes he's outside. His ability to handle all that, much like Justin Jefferson, it's like people talk about their skill sets, but man, the mental capacity to handle all the places they are in an offensive set every single week, that is a challenge, and it's insanely impressive to understand that and master that as well, much less their skill sets.
Hey, he knows he's that dude too. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, we got a look. We got a renaissance of what I'll say throwback wide receivers. We got AJ Brown throwing the quarterback under the bus, impressive availability. Like we start looking around and feeling these receivers, it's like, oh, this all sounds very familiar. The diva receiver is back. The NBA is in full swing, which means you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup between the NFL and the NBA in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.